So without further ado, let's get into this free Q&A. Here's how this session's going to work. I know some of you have got some burning questions that you'd really like me to answer. And I want you to keep in mind that as much as this is a Q&A, I can't dive too deep into personal coaching today, purely from a professional standpoint. I don't know your history. I don't know your background. I don't know your goals and ambitions, your severities, and what you've been doing with your recovery. So it's not going to be that today. Okay, this is what we do inside our paid programs. What I can do is answer general questions about recovery and then go into specifics on how I've helped specific people with that same problem through our work. Does that sound cool? Can you type in the word cool in the chat if you're okay with that? There's no agenda here other than for me to help you. And so I'd love you to get a pen and paper as well today, because I think there'll be some gold nuggets. Not all the time, but I hope for all of you, you'll take one bit of advice or guidance today and walk away with something practical. So I'd love to know in the chat, what are you struggling with in your recovery right now? And I'd like to just to do a sentence or so. Not just a word. Don't just write anxiety. Don't just write like fatigue. What are you actually struggling with in your recovery right now? So I can look at some key themes here and then dive deeper into some conversations. And you guys can look at these comments too and hit the like button on the specific questions or problems that other people are experiencing that you relate to. Self-sabotage, lack of energy, does pacing help you recover, staying positive when you're relapsing, hormone changes, baseline, getting sick with viruses all the time, caring for sick children, knowing how to push the envelopes without pushing too far, exercise. Tell me about exercise, Elaine Stewart. What about exercise do you need help with? If we can get a little bit more specific here, it'll help me kind of dive deeper into exactly what you're struggling with. Yep, so Nancy's wondering, how do I identify the level of activity based on where I'm at with my baseline? Vicky says, being housebound and keeping a positive mindset. Jill says, a husband who loves to entertain, just done a weekend of house parties in capitals. That comes to boundaries, which we can talk about today. Does anyone struggle with boundaries? If you can put your hand up, if you struggle to set boundaries or to express boundaries of where you're at and what you need help with. Yeah, okay, good. You're in the right place. Quinn, that's a really interesting concept. I'm getting overwhelmed by how far I'm recovering. Quinn, can you ask me that question or comment that question, just copy and paste it right now. Ask me that in about 30 minutes. I want to talk about that as a subject because it is a thing. As you start to get better, you can get overwhelmed by getting better because all of a sudden life opens up. Yeah, and coming from a place of struggling, suffering, not being able to do anything, basically having no choices, to now having a bunch of choices, it can become really overwhelming and challenging when you start getting better, because all of a sudden you have to deal with life. So I'd love to talk about that about too. Yes, Rick says problems with meditation, getting excited instead of relaxed. Yep, boom and bust. Kathleen says, how to distinguish between real symptoms and conditional behavior? Do they need a different approach? Okay, this is great. I'm going to just dive into these and we're going to riff. And throughout this conversation, I'm going to just share some personal stories that I've got in my brain that come to my mind of like someone who's been through that, how they got over it and moved forwards. Okay, this is good. Hey, just curious. Does it help seeing other people going through the same thing that you're going through? Like just seeing the comments right now, do you feel a little bit less alone? Yeah? One of the hardest parts about chronic fatigue syndrome is the isolation. And no one talks about that. You know, the actual isolation of suffering that you're going through on your own, that while sometimes your family members might understand, they don't actually get it fully, right? You might have the most loving, supportive person in your life, which is amazing because that's kind of rare too. Um, but seeing other people who are going through exactly what you're going through is really important because a problem shared is a problem halved. Can you write that down somewhere? A problem shared is a problem halved. If you want, at the top of your piece of paper, just write CFS Health Notes. CFS Health Notes, just as a reminder. And I want you to remember that because sometimes in life, when we don't share the problem, it just makes things 10 times harder. But when we finally share the problem is halved already, right? Um, and that's just really important to remember. Yeah. Uh, Caroline, great to see you here as well. Let's do this. Let's talk about the suffering with positive mindset. If in the chat right now, actually just raise your hand if you struggle with a positive mindset throughout every single week, right? Put your hand up if that's you. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thanks, Eva. Uh, it's really important to acknowledge this. So this is one of the common problems that I see with chronic fatigue syndrome recovery, where the person really wishes they were more positive, right? It's almost like they wish they were more motivated. They wish that there was more positivity, that they're severely affected by the negativity and the impact that chronic fatigue syndrome and the symptoms that you're experiencing that you face every single day. And the problem is that we're looking at it from the wrong standpoint, right? You believe that you just need to be more positive when you're feeling sad, frustrated, and angry. But the problem is that just trying to be more positive can almost make things worse. Have you ever noticed that when you try really hard to be positive when things aren't going your way, but it just makes things worse? Have you noticed that? You get more frustrated, you get more stuck. It's almost like a boxing match between you, right? And it's like this fight. And so many people with chronic fatigue syndrome say to me all the time, I just need to beat this. I just need to beat this. And my response to these people is, what if there was nothing to beat? You don't have to beat chronic fatigue syndrome. If you're trying to beat something, you're fighting it. And fighting isn't healing. So, my question to you is if you're going through this right now and you're feeling like it's a little bit of a tug of war, you want to ask the question, what would it be like if I didn't have to beat anything? What would it be like if this didn't have to be a fight anymore? That I didn't have to fight anything. In fact, I just had to turn inwards and help myself heal. How would that feel? Because the moment we drop the fight and stop the fight, all of a sudden we actually have energy to use on the right things. And when you do the right things at the right time, you get the right results. And so if you feel like you're not moving forwards in your recovery or you're not progressing, it's most likely because you're not doing the right things at the right time. And the results that you've got in your life and in your recovery are ultimately from the actions and inactions and behaviors and non behaviors that you are doing or not doing. And that could sound really harsh. It's not your fault. In fact, the medical system has let you down. This is why I started CFS Health at the ripe old age of 19. After I recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome, I just made my pact that I would make sure no one else had to go through the suffering that I did alone. And I can tell you for sure, you can imagine 20 years ago, no YouTube, no Instagram, no Facebook, no positivity. It was horrendous. And so the pain birthed my purpose to make sure no one else had to go through this recovery the way that I had to. And one of the first points of call for this to happen for you is to stop fighting, is to stop acting like you have to beat it, and instead realize that it's just a message, right? All these symptoms you're experiencing, the suffering that you're going through is just a call and cry out from your brain and your body for you to help yourself. And so the anecdote, instead of trying to be more positive, is actually to have a recovery plan, because that will, in fact, help you become more positive as you start to get better. You see, the problem is most of you, you're trying to be positive when you don't have a recovery plan. You're just like hoping that things get better, and then you wake up the next day and they don't. Does anyone relate to that? Has anyone been through this where you just pray to God, please, even if you're not religious? I remember I was praying when I was at my worst. I could barely lift my head off my pillow, and it was like my life was over. Like I thought and felt like my life was over. And this just wasn't for a night. This was for literally years on end. And I remember in my darkest moments, I would literally put my hands together. I wasn't religious. And I would just pray to God, please just make me better tomorrow. And I remember waking up every morning feeling the same, if not worse. And it wasn't until I was able to create a recovery plan and get help creating a recovery plan that I was able to actually change how I feel, which then changed how I thought, right? And so naturally, I became more positive because I knew I was on a pathway. But if you're not on a pathway and you're just waking up and just, throwing a few supplements at yourself and taking a few pills and just coping, me telling you to think more positively isn't actually going to help you, right? You have to have a bigger why and a bigger reason to get better than your current circumstances. Because if your current circumstances are consuming you, there's no way you can move beyond it. But if you have a bigger reason for your recovery, which I know all of you do who are on this call right now, you wouldn't be here otherwise. You have to use that as your anchor point to keep showing up. And here's the deal with recovery and motivation and positivity. Motivation isn't what you need. We have a video training inside our program called How to Deal with Recovery When You Don't Feel Motivated. Because after 1 or 2 months of being excited that recovery is possible for you, the motivation stops. And this is where purpose and vision for your future comes in, because you can't rely on motivation to show up each day and do what is required for your recovery to happen. You need to be pulled and show up regardless of how you feel in terms of motivation or positivity. And that's the difference, because what we're really looking at here is behavior, right? Patterns and actions that you take every single day, physically, emotionally, cognitively, spiritually, to move you forwards with your recovery. Now, if we just think about patterns and behaviors for a second, because you might be thinking, well, Toby, what kind of patterns, behaviors are you talking about? Fundamentally, what I'm actually talking about is the health fundamentals, right? So, first and foremost, uh, living and creating a baseline within your current capacity is first and foremost most important. And I'll tell you a few reasons why. If you're pushing and crashing and you don't have a routine and structure, and you wake up one day and suddenly all of a sudden you have all this energy and you go, you know what, today I'm gonna go gardening. And then I'm going to catch up with my girlfriends, and then I'm going to take the dog for a walk, and I'm going to make up for the last 2 months of not being able to do anything. Anyone sound familiar to you? Yeah. And all of a sudden you push way beyond your capacity and then you feel like crap. And guess what happens when you feel like crap? Your mindset goes right down, right? And so finding your baseline and finding the appropriate amount of activity within your current level of capacity is the most important thing right now. For two reasons. Scientifically, we need to safety signal to the brain that the body's okay. Right? Dr. Olivia talks about this all the time. She's our resident medical doctor at CFS Health. She runs workshops for all of our members. Her biggest thing that she talks about every single month is safety signaling. And this is what baseline does and creates, right? Now, baseline basically is a framework to help you stop pushing and crashing so we can create safety in the body. Once we create safety in the body, we can then create energy and capacity in the body to expand. When you expand appropriately for where you're at, your body adapts to the stimulus appropriately and therefore functions more in a healthy response. Now, if you keep pushing and crashing and we don't safety signal and we keep doing what's not appropriate for us, we keep going around in circles, right? And so behavior and patterns, actions and inactions are really what are we doing on a day-to-day basis, right? With our energy output, with our energy input. What are we consuming nutritionally for our bodies? Uh, and you might be eating really healthy, but it's not working for you for a couple of reasons. You might be stress eating. You might be stressed about being healthy all the time, which invariably can actually not help food absorption in the digestive system. But also, you're not checking in with your body to see the response it's giving you based off the food that you're giving it. And then there's a whole another conversation around poor diet, which, is very common for people with chronic fatigue syndrome. Alcohol, is a really common one to numb pain. Another one is sugar. If you aren't sustaining your blood sugar levels, you're so susceptible to literally reaching out for the chocolate, the cookies, the biscuits, the breads, the sugar, sugar, sugar. And again, we want to avoid that. So a simple antidote to that is making sure you're eating enough adequate protein in every single meal, not just 3 meals a day or 1 meal a day, but through every single meal that you're eating, you are having a source of protein along with your healthy complex carbohydrates and fats. One of the things we talk about at CFS Health big time is food is fuel, right? And so I love food. I don't know about you, but I'm a big foodie. You'll see me at all the cafes. In fact, I'm like the biggest regular at the local cafe. I win an award every year for the most amount of meals that I have, right? I just love food. But it's always for fuel, right? So the chef knows me personally because I'll usually order two different meals at the same time, one for good complex carbohydrates and one for lots of protein. And he'll say to me, Toby, another day at the gym, and I'll say yes because I've just done a gym session. I need to replenish my energy levels and my fuel. Now, the key here is making sure that what you are eating is working for you. So again, we're listening to the responses it's giving us and it's sustaining us. So let's say if you eat bread for breakfast or a piece of toast with some jam, and all of a sudden after 30 minutes or an hour, you're still really hungry or you're drained, you just don't have any energy. That's a sign that that's not the right thing for you, right? But if we swap that for, let's say, some eggs or some animal protein with some fruit and complex carbohydrates, but you feel more sustained for at least 3 to 4 hours, we know that that's a beneficial food source for you that's working for you. Yeah. Now, I'm saying all this stuff, and you're probably thinking, yeah, but like, when am I going to get better? The thing is, recovery is a process. So you can't just do this for a week or two and expect to feel better overnight. It just doesn't happen like that. Health is a forever thing. Recovery doesn't have to be if you fully focus on it now. But ultimately, your brain and body is crying out for help. And I want you to treat it as a signal for you to help yourself versus something that you have to beat. Does this make sense? Can we just zoom out for a second in the chat right now? Let me know if this makes sense. Okay, great. Yeah, Manon, it's hard to stick to routine when you don't know how the hell to have one. I remember my doctor said to me, when I was struggling with chronic fatigue syndrome, he said, you just need to eat well and sleep better and exercise. And I felt like strangling him because at the time I could barely do anything. Like I could barely get out of bed. So I thought to myself, how the hell am I supposed to go for a walk? I don't even, I can barely have the energy to eat breakfast, let alone figure out what to eat. And so it's really difficult when you're going through it. And this is again why we have an actual proper program fully from start to finish because it's a nuanced approach. It's not like as simple as like, here's a cookie cutter routine, do this and you'll get better. No, we have to trial and test. We have to collect data. We have to figure out what works for you. And then we can build on that. So the key with routine and structure isn't just about having a routine structure that's appropriate for you, but it's one that you'll look forward to. So one of the biggest things that a lot of people, particularly who don't work with us on a professional level, they might have a routine structure, but it sucks. It's like Groundhog Day every day. You don't look forward to it. It doesn't energize you. There's nothing to look forward to. And so, one of my biggest tips here right now is to have some joy seeded throughout your entire day. And this is where it's really hard, Manon, and for everyone else at home. There's probably things that you love and that you're really good at, but you can't fully do it right now. True, Sue? Is that true for you as well? Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah. So instead of thinking that you have to do a full amount of the thing that you used to be really good at or that you love, where can you place something that will give you a little bit of joy, even if you don't feel like it initially, in each and every single day? It might be 2 minutes of something. I know it sounds ridiculous. I helped a pianist recently, and he's like a super, super high-end pianist, kind of famous. And I said, and he's like, I just can't play for an hour. I can't do it. And I was like, well, you shouldn't do it. That's not in the routine and structure. I said, I just want you to play for 5 minutes. Can you play for 5 minutes? And what's the point of playing for 5 minutes, Toby? And I said, because it's a start. You have to start with where you're at in order to get to where you want to be. Can you write that down? You have to start where you're at to be where you want to be. And so for this particular person, it was 5 minutes of piano in his baseline each day. And he felt so silly. He'd play for 5 minutes and then he'd be like, so what? And I'd be like, stop. And now do that tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. And within a week, it went up to 7 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 15 minutes, then 20 minutes. And we built and built and built and built and built. And all we did was appropriately build his capacity around this cognitive and physical activity that he loved. And he was able to do more of it because his body and brain started to respond to the stimulus appropriately. And so you just need to pick the stimulus that's appropriate for you, and then you need to stick at it, right? Rick, I think, mentioned before something about getting overexcited. And this is a really common theme in recovery too, where we call it gym excitement. So I don't know if you've ever been to the gym before and you might have a program, you feel really good, and so you go, you know what, I feel even better than before, so I'm just going to push myself more, and it's against the program that you were ridden, right? And this is where injuries happen. And so it's really important with recovery. We can get a thing called recovery excitement, where again you wake up feeling pretty good because you've been doing the right things, and then all of a sudden you push it too much, and then it sets you back. And so what we want to do with your recovery is avoid the recovery excitement. You need to contain your energy, right? And not get carried away with adrenaline, not get carried away with, what we call gym excitement or recovery excitement or even social excitement, and to hold boundaries within yourself. And so, really, when it comes to boundaries, we want to say 1,000 no's for the big one yes. Let's say recovery is your top goal, right? You want to get healthy, you want to start living again. In order to get there, there's going to be a lot of no's initially to get to the yes, right? The big important yes. But if you can't say no to the little things, the daily things that you know that you shouldn't be doing right now, it's going to be very hard to get to the big yes eventually. And so anything great requires sacrifice. It really does. Just initially, though. And the greatest thing is, on the other side of this, it's like it's a life that you could never imagine. You know, I want to show you a couple of stories just quickly of some examples of this, because you're probably thinking right now, yeah, but it's all good. Like what he's saying, yeah, he makes sense. Like it makes sense, but like I don't think it's possible for me. You're having this doubt in your own mind, this limiting belief of, well, he makes sense, but it's just not possible for me. I want to show you a couple of stories, like just pure, true examples. This is just a few client screenshots we did recently. We ask for all of our clients' permission if we ever share things. It's always from them. They say, yes, please go and share it to inspire other people because they were inspired by other people's recovery stories. So just FYI, we have a big privacy policy. And we really respect everyone's privacy. And so these clients are very generous to want to share this out to the public. So this is Julie. Uh, this is only 3 months of working with us. She's actually been with us for a year now, and she's literally a healthy person again, but this was only a 3 month before and after. She says, getting to reflect on changes that have happened, big and small, since joining the program 3 months ago. I'm realizing I've had a huge amount of progress in both how I feel mentally and physically. What I can consistently do day to day. Now, this was day one of her joining, which you can see she was pale, her hair is super dry, and her eyes aren't looking too healthy at all. To 3 months later, like she's just a different person. Now, I want you to pick up what she said before because there's some clues in her success. I've had huge amounts of progress in both how I feel mentally and physically. Remember what I said to you at the start of this? Rather than trying to think more positively or to think that you need to think more positively to get better, if you actually just focus on your recovery properly, not just 50% of the time or half committed to your own health and your recovery, but fully committed to your recovery for the long term, this is how you can feel, right? But if I just told Julie when she started, hey, Julie, you just got to think more positively. Yeah, just smile more. If I ever said that to a client, they should slap me because that's not a strategy for recovery. Now, smiling's important. I think it's good. It's good to smile. Doesn't hurt. But we do need to have a strategy and a recovery plan, right? Like it's just to think more positively is not going to help you. And I know so many people have probably told that to your face, like, oh, Eva, you just need to think more positively. Or Sue, Elaine, you just need to think more positively. Roger, Rita, you just need to think more positively. You know, um, and there's more to recovery than just that. Yeah. Someone mentioned before about pacing, and is that the only form of thing that can help with recovery? Here's the thing: we don't believe in pacing at CFS Health. We don't teach it. We don't preach it. In fact, we think it's very limiting at CFS Health, and there's a couple of reasons why. When pacing is prescribed, it's prescribed from a restriction standpoint. So a restriction standpoint is like, okay, you can only do this every single day and you can't do anything else. You can't, it has to be this every day, no matter what. And it might be a specific time that you walk for, or that you rest for, or that you do more of, but you're not allowed to go away from that set guideline, almost like a rule, right? So pacing is very inflexible. Now, why personally do I believe that it doesn't work? It doesn't work because it's inflexible. You're a human being. The truth is, health is fluctuating every single day, even for a healthy person, but particularly for someone with chronic fatigue syndrome. You do not need rigidity, you need flexibility, right? This is why baseline is so much more powerful because within your baseline, you have a base zone, right? You have a zone that you can move in within your energy envelope based off how you feel, right? It's a big difference. So people always get confused. Oh, CFS Health, they only teach pacing. No, we don't even teach pacing at all. Yes, pacing is a lock-in, and you don't need to be locked in, right? Yes, you need to do what's appropriate for you, but you need to be able to be flexible within how you feel. Now, how you feel is going to be based off a few things. Here's a couple of ones. Sleep, the quality of your sleep the night before, or the quality of sleep over the last 5 days is going to affect how you feel tomorrow. What you eat, the environment that you're in. Has it been stressful? Has it been energizing? Social fatigue, emotional fatigue. There's things to factor in here. Colds and flus. Someone said before, my immune system, I just keep getting colds and flus. You need to factor that in with your baseline. The great news is if your immune system's really low because of chronic fatigue syndrome, it gets better as you get better. So as you focus on your health and your recovery, as you get stronger and healthier, your immune system gets better and therefore you don't get sick as much. In fact, we at CFS Health use colds and flus as a progress tracker. So let's say that you started working in the program and originally you'd get a cold and a flu and it would take 3 to 4 weeks to get better, right? What happens at 6 months, 12 months, 15 months is when our members get sick with a cold or flu, they get better within 4 or 5 days, right? After they've been doing this work and progressing and getting better. And so what they used to be scared of, they actually celebrate now because they go, you know what? I had a cold and I got better within 5 days. And it used to take me 4 weeks. And so we're seeing a healthy response from the immune system. And it makes sense, right? Because the brain and the body has adapted and it can respond appropriately to these things that are external in our environment. Can you give me a nod if this is landing for you, if this is making sense? Can you give me a nod? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. So if you're noticing these better responses, maybe you're responding better to stress, maybe you're responding better to colds and flus, maybe you're responding better to stressful situations, right? Things that you can't control. These are all good signs of progress. You just sometimes can't see it because you're so focused on everything that's not working. There's a clue there. Focus on what works. Can you write that down? Focus on what works. So many people focus on what they can't do and they don't focus on what they can do. Thanks, Brenda. It's really important that you really just focus on the things that work and then double down on that. We always say at CFS Health, don't stop what works. Don't stop what works and simply stop doing what doesn't work. Really important. Another person, this is a perfect example. This one actually is just a perfect story to share. Emily was in hospital every 3 to 4 weeks, and this was her just out of hospital. You can see how deconditioned she is. She was 21, just very, very unwell. Probably 1 out of 10 in terms of energy. So she was very bedbound, basically, couldn't move, couldn't eat much, very nauseous, horrible headaches. In fact, her first 9 months with working with me wasn't easy, and she actually didn't make much progress at all, to be fully transparent. And this is why we say recovery can take time. It's not like it's going to happen overnight. For some people, it's a little bit longer. For some people, it's a bit shorter. But for Emily, her immune system was getting in the way, stress was getting in the way, her thinking was getting in the way. Like, why am I getting better? Like everyone else is getting better, comparing herself. And there was a lot of stress and anxiety, right? Secondary anxiety of I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm missing out on so much life. I know you can understand because you probably feel the same way. The shift happened at the 9th month mark where she just totally fully committed to everything that she could control, right? Which wasn't much at the time. She was at very low capacity. We figured out her baseline, we started small, and we built up. Even attending a Zoom call was exhausting for her. And so we had to build up slowly. And within the 9th month mark, it was like a switch had flicked and her brain and body switched online and she was able to start making progress. Now, it was very insignificant to start with. But the cool thing is, 2 years later, she stuck at it and was consistent with it, and now she's fully recovered. In fact, she messaged me. She wants to work for CFS Health now. She's doing an administration course at university, and she reached out last week to me personally and said, "Hey, is there jobs at CFS Health?" And I said, "There's always work at CFS Health for the right people who want to add value to the world." And so she's put in a resume to the team, which is just amazing. I think 90% of our team members at CFS Health all recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome through the program. So there's quite a lot of members and team members who work here now from overcoming chronic fatigue syndrome. Yeah. I'd love to throw it to you in the chat. I know that there's been so many questions, and I hope I've answered some just through just sharing story. But if there's a question that you'd like me to answer, I'm going to pick a couple right now. Don't take it personally if I don't answer your question. It's not a personal thing, it's a time thing, and I want to make sure we can hit a few of these together. So just copy and paste your question below. Alexia says, I would love to get better and work for CFS Health. Well, dreams become reality, Alexia. Yeah, honestly, they do. I'm just seeing here if there's any team members. Here's 2 team members right here, right now that I'll share with you. This is Sue John. She was sick for 30 years. She's now one of our one-on-one coaches here at CFS Health. So every single member inside CFS Health gets a one-on-one coach, someone who's recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome to walk them through the program alongside with myself and my team. And so, Sue was in a wheelchair and now she's fully recovered. She actually is on a snow chip right now. She just posted in our team chat the other day that she's snowboarding on the slopes. This is Charlie Benyon, mother of 5, just frustrated with recovery. She was in a really bad way when I worked with her. and now she's fully recovered too. She's one of our momentum coaches as well. So, Alexia, it is anything's possible. And there's so many different people that I could share. I've got a whole iPad full of them. Um, okay, let's have a look at some questions. Okay. Uh, First question is Rita and Matthias says, do you have experience with persons who are wide awake and have much energy, but the nervous system crashes? Is this a form of fatigue? It's not a form of fatigue, but it's just nervous system dysregulation, right? So this is normal and really common for people with chronic fatigue syndrome to have tired but wired energy, right? And this tired and wired energy can get in the way if you don't have a core routine and structure that's appropriate for where you're at right now. The problem is you may overuse that adrenalized energy, and then that's when you feel horrible. And so you want to make sure that you're not running off adrenaline. And it's pretty simple. When you're running off adrenaline, it's very much a head and heart thing. So you can kind of feel the energy from your chest to your top of your head, right? It kind of feels like there's this outward energy going on. The true energy that you want to tap into is your body energy, right? From your feet to about your neck. It's an overall sense of well-being and energy that is pulling you towards doing something, not overexerting yourself. And it's really tricky in the tired and wired stage. It's usually in stage two where the fatigue wears off, but now the irritable sleep kicks in. The pushing and crashing goes almost higher. The inability to rest becomes common. And again, the baseline is the most important thing here, even in the tired and wired stage. Yep. So yes, it's very common as well. This is where restorative movement comes in. This is where restorative breathing comes in. This is where restoring energy in your system and calming the nervous system down is really vital for your recovery, right? So, I would be really looking into that as a holistic approach. And again, that's what we do at CFS Health. Someone asked the other day, like, do you believe in brain retraining? The truth is, you're brain retraining 24/7. You guys are brain retraining right now. You're listening to me talk, right? So yes, of course, we teach brain retraining in our recovery program, but it's not one technique, and this is the problem that most people miss, right? Recovery requires a holistic approach. How the hell are you going to get stronger if you're just constantly repeating positive thoughts to yourself and not actually restoring energy and strength in your body? For me, that's an unsafe approach. This is why we have a restorative movement program as part of our recovery program. It's called the Movement Mastery Program. So we help people restore energy and strength in the body without feeling worse than you currently do. And then we build upon that. And so this is why you see all these people who are stronger and healthy, like these people here, because they're actually physically rebuilding and reconditioning their brains and their bodies. Even at 85, this is Janet Krabby, one of my favorite clients. I'm allowed to say it. She's our eldest member ever. She's in Hawaii. She's so amazing. At 85, getting better. I visited her in Hawaii last year on a conference, and it was just the most special time. I got to spend a whole day with her and her husband Eric, and we played ukulele, and yeah, we just had a ball. And and so I just want you to remember that you you just have to fully have a comprehensive approach, and it doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, recovery isn't complicated. Most commonly, people overcomplicate recovery, right? Recovery is simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Just write that down. I want you to remember that because there's going to be days where you wake up and it's not freaking easy. And I don't want you to believe the people on the internet, the gurus that are on YouTube, and you probably know some of them who they are, who act like it's a walk in the park. Some days, recovery is not a walk in the park, right? Some days are going to be harder than others. The most important thing is how you consistently show up despite that, right? And someone said before, how do you work with self-doubt and self-criticism and the self-sabotage? The key is to just realize that you have to show up regardless of how you feel mentally and emotionally. can you stick to what we set you out for, right? There's a great quote that my auntie used to tell me a lot when I was going through hard times. She said, Toby, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And it was so profound for me because I used to think that on the other side of feeling good or having what you want, you would just be so happy and ecstatic and life would be amazing all the time. But the truth is, it's the same, right? Chop wood, carry water before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water after enlightenment. And I want to share something really important for you. As you get healthy and start living again, it isn't all rainbows and sunshines. And this isn't to make you feel bad about it or to not look forward to it. Don't get me wrong. You are going to have, if you focus on your recovery fully now and you do all the right things at the right time and you get healthy and you start living again, on the other side, your life can be absolutely profound. Just like all these people, like literally, just like so many different people. Like this guy didn't think he'd ever be able to walk again. And now he's holidaying around the entire world with his wife at the age of 60. Like all these things are possible, but it requires a commitment. But here's the thing, as you get healthy and start living again, life challenges are going to pop up. And I want to prepare that for you because we prepare this for our members too. We have a program called the Lifestyle Integration Program. So as our members get better, we actually move them across into the lifestyle integration part of the program, right? And we do this because we want to help them go through the challenges that life presents when they haven't had to deal with life for a certain period of time. Some of you are actually fearful of getting better. Some of you are scared to get better. And it's not a bad thing. There's no judgment here about that. It's a really common thing because all of a sudden, as you get better, you've got more responsibility. You have to deal with people. You have to deal with not nice people sometimes, right? I'm sure you know about that. You have to deal with responsibilities like bills and work and career and maybe responsibilities around the house and kids and all those types of things too. And you dread it. And that's okay. That's really a common process that you go through. The cool thing is your capacity to do more and handle more is increased because you're getting better. And the true aspect of integrating into life is to find what you value next. And what I mean by that is to have an aligned values based off your key core drivers in your life right now. Because you're not the same person as you were 10 or 20 years ago. In fact, as you get better, you become a new person. You create a new life for yourself. And with that, you have to create a new set of values, a new set of goals, a new vision. And without a pathway, again, it's pretty damn challenging to do that. And so this is why we have a lifestyle integration aspect of program. It's just an up-level program where you're going away from focusing on your recovery and moving towards more life stuff, which is a brilliant sign that you're getting better, right? We celebrate that. But that doesn't mean it doesn't come without its challenges, okay? And you'll thank me for sharing this with you because, there'll be days where you wake up and you're like, oh man, I thought this was just going to be fun. And then you'll remember me and go, oh, I remember when Toby Morrison told me that some days aren't going to be fun even if I'm better. And that's okay, right? It'll actually make your life easier. Yeah. Um, Joanne says, I can't work out what works and what doesn't work. So again, we have a whole process. We have a daily tracker that we get all members to track for 2 weeks. And the key things that we track are nutrition. So food in, what are we eating? How are we feeling? We don't track symptoms at all. Okay. We do not track symptoms at all. We only track health. So what we want to pick out is, well, how is this affecting how I feel from a health perspective? Right? So when you wake up in the morning, how do you feel? How many hours did you sleep? What time did you wake up? When you ate breakfast, how did you feel 30 minutes afterwards? When you did your activity, how did you feel afterwards? And so what happens over 2 weeks, you get a data collection of all the key points of what's working and what's not working, and then you formulate your baseline based off that. If you're to join mentorship, our recovery program, we would walk you through that, right? Your coach would tell you exactly what to do. You'd fill it out, you'd bring it back, and we'd help you then figure out the next steps, along with all the trainings that you get access to. So yeah, Joanne, you just want to collect data, your own health data, right? And there's just really some key core components, which would be nutrition, activity in, activity out, meaning ac activity expenditure, so energy expenditure, and then energy in, so energy, getting back into the body, that restore energy too. Yeah. At the end of the day, what we teach at CFS Health is body wisdom. And that's something that you can't just like buy on the internet and like get straight away. It's something that you have to train, become aware of, and tune in. And even honoring and setting boundaries, right? Like if your body is saying, no, this isn't right for me, that's a body wisdom signal to go, hey, my body's saying no. Thanks for the invitation, but right now is a no for me. I'll let you know when I can do that at a later time. And so you're really tuning into your body. The great thing is body wisdom is something that you can take with you forever, even as a healthy person. You get to tune in on what feels right for you and be congruent with those choices. Michelle, I don't really want to talk about the program. There's a question about our program. You can book in a recovery call and get all the information sent to you. I'd rather you just do that than me talk about the program and waste time. I'd rather help you guys here on this free Q&A. At the end, I'll drop a link for anyone who's interested in the program, and you guys can book in a call and get a recovery plan if you'd like with us. Carrie says, I have so much symptoms in the morning. Sometimes something I can do about it. Yeah, so this is a common one. You'll wake up in the morning, you'll have a bunch of symptoms. Your morning routine really matters here. What are you doing in your morning routine to help you with this? One of the key things, Carrie, is to not focus on your symptoms, which is so hard, particularly if you're not in a program to get help, right? Like if you're doing this on your own and you've got no freaking help at all, no practical help, no people to hold you accountable, no coaching, no support system, it's so easy to fall into the trap of focusing on all the wrong things. And this is why I believe getting help, external help outside of yourself, is vital for recovery. And just vital for life. I have a bunch of coaches in my life. I always have from the age of 16 since going through chronic fatigue syndrome, even after getting better. I have mentors, I pay coaches. I think it's just vital to go to where you want to go in your life. It's very hard to get to where you want to go on your own with your dreams and aspirations. And so if you can, pay to get in front of the people that will help you get to where you want to get to. If you can't afford that, do these types of things. Jump on these free sessions. Go on our YouTube channel. Get help like that. Nutrition's a big one. In the mornings, making sure that you're hydrated first thing in the morning, 2 glasses of water. Nutrition within the first hour will help. If you're super nauseous, something like a smoothie or something that's more digestible will really help you. A routine to get your mind off your symptoms is the first foremost thing I'd focus on. The second thing I want you to write down is this: don't let a bad morning ruin a good day. Don't let a bad morning ruin a good day. And for some of you, don't let a bad week ruin a good week. Yeah, a bad day, sorry, ruin a good week. Don't let a bad day ruin a good week. And this is really important because recovery is a process, and your body might be in stage 1 healing right now where you're exhausted, right? You're feeling lethargic, you're tired, you've got brain fog, the symptoms are super strong. That's okay. You are rehabilitating your brain and body back online. It might take a few months, provided you're doing the right things at the right time. If you're just taking a guess at all of this stuff, I don't know how long it's going to take you. It could take you forever. Some people come to us and go, holy shit, if I didn't find you guys, I would have been sick for the rest of my life because I wouldn't have known what to do. Right. So just make sure that you're not letting a bad morning ruin a good day, particularly if you're just in a stage of recovery and healing that just requires you to get through that period, but still look after yourself. You'll find that in the evenings and the later afternoons, you'll probably have more energy. That's okay. Don't overdo it in those times. Remember what I said to you before. Don't get carried away with that overexertion or energy adrenaline, right? Stay within your baseline. Do what is appropriate. Brendan, can you type that in the chat for everyone as well? Write this down. Do what is appropriate. And the question you want to ask yourself is this appropriate for where I'm at right now? there's a couple of questions around exercise here, which I think is really great. So with exercise, I don't really like the word exercise first and foremost. Let's get rid of the word exercise. Let's just replace it with movement. Okay. Exercise, we connotate to pushing our bodies to the extremes, right? Most of the time. So we want to change the word exercise to movement because movement is more appropriate. There's two types of movement that you can do in your recovery. There's daily functional movement, which is literally just you functioning in daily life. Now, that could be going to the toilet, that could be brushing your teeth, that could be sitting up in bed, that could be moving around the house. This is daily functional movement, getting around the house, patting your dog, hanging the washing. We would classify that as daily functional movement. The other part of movement is a structured movement. Okay. And this is where we would start you with a restorative movement program. Um, there's different types of modality of movement. And so, for example, we've got cardiovascular exercise and movement. We've got strength movement. We've got flexibility and mobility movement. What we've found over the last 16 years and what I've found when I started working with people with chronic fatigue syndrome is that strength-based movement is far superior than cardiovascular movement within the first stages of recovery. Now, that's for almost 98% of people respond better to restorative strength training versus cardiovascular initially. That doesn't mean you can't do cardiovascular. It just means we have more of a focus on restorative strength based movements first to re-strengthen your body and rehabilitate your body appropriately for where you're at. Now, the good thing about this is you can do it from your bedroom. Right. We have a 12 level restorative movement program from level one, which is pre-beginner, which means that, you can barely leave the house. We have a movement program for that. And then we work you all the way up to advanced, which is basically being able to do whatever you want. Go back to the gym, play football, be a ballerina, go dancing, whatever it is. Right. And well, hiking's a big one too, right? Hiking's a big one. I don't know if you guys are hikers here or love hiking, but for some reason, we attract a lot of people who love hiking. And so one of the big goals that a lot of people have is, I want to go hiking again. And so we have to build their strength and stamina first with their muscles, right? So we need to recondition their bodies, their upper body, their lower body, and then they have a base to work from. Then they can build their cardiovascular system on top of that. And this is what's literally helps thousands of people regain their health and get healthy again by re-strengthening their bodies. Now, again, the same rules apply with your baseline, though. With movement, we don't push and crash. With movement, we don't over-exercise or over-prescribe exercise. And one thing that I want you to remember is this thing called RPE, rate of perceived exertion. This is how we teach body wisdom within the realm of movement. And so RPE is a scorecard from 1 to 10, 10 being the hardest amount of perceived exertion, and then 1 being, very minimal or not that hard at all. And so depending on how you feel, remember we're factoring those 5 health fundamentals: sleep, nutrition, um, stress, quality of life, illnesses like colds and flus. We need to factor that in first. And then based off that, then we choose the RPE, rate of perceived exertion, based off how we feel. So we might give you a program and say, hey, you might start on level 2 restorative movement program, but if you feel like crap or you wake up and you didn't sleep that well, you can just do half of that. Or you can even do level 1 if you feel like it. So it's not all or nothing. Where most people go wrong is they're either all or nothing. And so they start for 2 weeks, they're great, and then they stop altogether. And they go, that didn't work. It's not that it didn't work, it's just that you had the wrong prescribed program for you that you couldn't stick to. And this is why you're stuck. Can you just type in the word sense if this is landing for you? I know there's like a lot here, and this is why this is why we've got like 45 hours worth of content in our program structured into every single aspect of recovery. Like it's extremely hard to fit everything in an hour, but I hope I've given you some value today. I'd love to know in the chat, what was your biggest takeaway from today as we wrap up? Hope. Great, not to fight. That's a big one. It's honestly, if you can stop fighting, you're on the start. Not to fight. Yeah, simple doesn't mean easy. Doing what makes you happy so it makes things easier. What was your biggest takeaway from today's session? Protein in every meal. Confirmation that this is a program. This is my program. I will join. Great, Kathleen. I'll send you a link in a moment. Um, awesome, Sue. Great to hear that you're on track. I think confirmation is really important. Integration is possible. Disciplined ambition. I love that, Jason. I think that's a great thing to write down. Making the commitment. Pat says, I'll be back in the program soon for community and accountability. Pat, we'd love to see you back here and support you. To know the difference between adrenalized energy and body-based energy, it's a big one. Yes, track health and don't track symptoms, right? I want to show you one last thing before you go away. So I'm just going to get my iPad up for you. So we spoke a lot about health, right? We spoke a lot about symptoms and not tracking it. And I want to give you a clear example of this. So a lot of you said, my immune system's not that great. What I want you to remember is this. As you get healthier and stronger, right, your health goes up, right? Now, as your health goes up, something starts to go down. It's your symptoms. And it's impossible to suffer with more symptoms when you're getting healthier. And so this is why our program is a health-focused approach. We do not focus on symptoms. We do not treat illness, we treat health. We help individuals get healthy and start living again. That's what we do. We don't treat illness. And this is the big difference. If we zoom out, this makes a lot of sense. If you see every single person on the screen, health, focused on health. Emily, totally sick, totally consumed by symptoms. 2 years, recovered, focused on health. Look how healthy she is now. Julie, even though this is only a 3 month difference in photos, she's been with us for over a year now, and she's just kicking so many goals. It's not funny. She's literally a new person. Health, zero focus on illness and symptoms. And so this is just a few examples. This lady was in a wheelchair. She bumped into me at one of my favorite cafes in Noosa, and she goes, "Are you Toby Morrison?" And I said, "Yeah." And I get this wherever I go, someone will always come up to me and go, "Toby." And I said, "Yes." And she said, "I did your program in 2000 and I think it was 15, a long time ago." And I said, "Okay, what's your name?" And she said, "Felicity." And I've got really good memory. And I was like, "I vaguely remember you. I think you're from Victoria somewhere in Australia." She said, "That's me." And she said, "Toby, I've got my life back now." She said, "It took longer than I expected." And this is her here. Her husband took the photo. They were on holidays. And you can see just the health in the eyes of how well she is now. And she works full time. She's an artist as well. And just absolutely incredible. And so this was a person who didn't believe that she could get better. And so I just want to share with you that if you're feeling like that right now, you feel like you can't get better, that's okay. Every single recovery story that you're looking at today felt the same way. Recovery is possible, but you have to focus on it now. Health is forever. Health is a forever thing. You do have to focus on your health forever if you want to be healthy, but you don't have to focus on recovery forever. Because once you get healthy, you won't be suffering anymore. If you'd like help with myself and my team professionally, I'm going to drop a link below. We have about 10 available spots over the next 3 weeks, I think. We're pretty booked out for calls. So if you would like help with a recovery plan, like all these individuals did that I showed you today, to have a full A to Z plan for you from every single stage of recovery, we're going to help you every step of the way. We're not like a one technique type of program. As you know, we're a super comprehensive program. So we won't just help you with your baseline. We won't just help you with your mindset. We won't just help you with integrating into life. We'll help you with all of it. because depending on where you're at with your recovery and where you're at will be dependent on what we help you with at that given time, and what got you here won't get you there. And so recovery is a process. I want you to remember that this is a rehabilitation process. Yeah. And if you'd like help with that, you'd like accountability, you'd like coaching, you'd like access to myself and my amazing team, you can find them on our website. We've just got the most incredible team of people who have been through chronic fatigue syndrome, have gotten better, and know the pathway and the frameworks to give you to help you get better. So I'll pop a link there. All you need to do is fill out the form. It literally takes three-ish, 3.5 minutes. Answer them as honestly as you possibly can, and then book in a recovery call. There'll be, like I said, I think there's 10 spots left for February. So you will have to book in now to secure that spot. You'll get some information sent to you, and you'll be having a call with our head concierge, Nathan Farm. He's amazing. He talks to people every single day who have got chronic fatigue syndrome and who enroll in our program. He'll answer any questions that you have. He'll help figure out your goals and your focus key points in the program initially. And then if you are a good fit, you'll be accepted into the program and he can get you started right away. Um, yeah. Kathleen, we have one-on-one coaching as well as group coaching. If you're worried about anything, book in a call and ask your questions. Don't just sit there and think that it's one way. Like I said, it's very comprehensive and we've got you covered. I'll pop the link in once more. Guys, if this has been helpful, I'd love you to take a photo right now and tag us on Instagram and just let us know in your story what you loved about it. I feel really privileged to connect with you. I've been doing this for a long time, but it still feels really meaningful to me. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. So I'd love to connect with you. Follow us on Instagram. Go over to our YouTube channel. Again, if you can't afford help right now and you only want to do free resources, please go over to our YouTube channel. Like we have, I think it's over 1,000 tutorials and videos there. So it's CFS Health inside YouTube, and we do a weekly podcast there. So sending you my love. Uh, I believe in you, and I believe in your future, even if you don't right now. Big love. We'll see you soon.